This video is brought to you by Game Maker. And if you've ever wanted to get into game development, Game Maker does this really crazy thing where it's free. Just start making and only pay when you want to release your game to the world commercially.
It's fast, it's user-friendly, and there's easy-to-follow tutorials, plus a dedicated community to help answer even my questions. How make man jump? Game Maker is a 2D game engine that's helped bring some of yours and my favorite recent experiences to life, like UFO 50, Chicory, Anton Blast, and of course, Yahtzee's own Starstruck Vagabond.
Ooh, we talking about Game Maker? I love that program, it's so easy to use. As well as Starstruck Vagabond, I also used it to make all 12 projects in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge. And I couldn't believe how much sex I got out of that. None. I got none at all. Which I couldn't believe.
So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the Game Maker link in the description and start cracking away today, because we want to play your game.
Yeah, looking through this list, I'm seeing one of you made Armpit Fart Tycoon, and I've got several questions for you. Hello, and welcome to DevHeads, the podcast focused on the ins, outs, and goings on of game development, with host experience ranging from indie, double to AAA. I'm Jay, and today we are joined by a wonderful co-host, Mikee.
Hey, everybody.
And today we unfortunately do not have Tina. Tina could not make it, which she's extremely sad about, but I'm sure she'll be in the chat. But instead, we have two wonderful guests that I'm really excited to have on the show. We've got Mr. Brendon Chung. Hello, Brendon.
Hi.
Hey, can you give our audience just an intro of who you are, what you're about?
Yeah, so I'm Brendon Chung. I've been running a small game studio called Blendo Games since 2010. I used to work in the AAA space before that. And then before that, I got into games by making mods for games like Quake and Half-Life and things like that. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Beautiful. And also we're joined by Priscilla. Priscilla, hello. Can you give us an intro of who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Priscilla. I am a sound designer and composer. I work on a lot of games, all kinds, indie, more AA, I guess. Some of my more recent games were Immortality, and before that I worked on Iron Man VR, which was interesting.
No shit. You worked on that?
Yeah.
I remember hearing a lot about that when I was at Meta.
Yeah, it was the audio. I think we did a good job on that game. But yeah, I worked on those. Obviously, I've been working on Skin Deep, which is coming out, and I'm working on another game with Half Mermaid right now. So Project C, the very secretive next game. Yeah, so, and Electrifying Incident just came out the other day as well. I had 2 games coming out this month, which is
My God.
a lot.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. And
Thank
you just mentioned the title of our podcast and why you guys are here, because both me and Mikey are very excited about this. You guys are releasing Skin Deep. Can you tell us a little bit about just what this game is and what's your kind of like mission statement for it?
Yeah, so Skin Deep is a game we've been making. It's a first-person immersive sim action game. You play as an insurance commando, which in our world is a person that is kept in a cryopod inside cargo spaceships full of valuable things. And when a silent alarm gets tripped on the ship because space pirates are raiding it, you unthaw from your little box and you go and take care of the bad guys. Our one-sentence pitch for the game is "Die hard in outer space." That's kind of the vibe that we're going for. You're
Perfect.
Including Glass and Feet.
Yes, we do have that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love how you, if I can remember for a sec, I just love the explanation that you have there. It's such a good explanation of, I guess, like the premise that you have, the gameplay start that you wanted of like being a person who's stuck somewhere, can go a lot of different routes, semi-open level design, and you don't start with anything, is explained so well by this silly kind of dystopian, I would argue, semi-realistic future we might be moving toward of having insurance commandos. It's an immediate grab for me. I love that you did that. And with your signature charm and humor, of course, that Blendo has.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's fun to make a game where you have a job to do and you're kind of you know, in over your head and under-equipped for the job that you got.
Yeah, like I think one of the things that attracts me, because whenever I think of games, I can't help but think of them from a developer's perspective. So when I saw Skin Deep, I immediately went, "Oh wow!" Because tackling an immersive sim in an indie space takes a lot, like from a design perspective. So like, what attracted you to this type of game for your company?
Yeah. So the not so secretly, the games that Blendo tends to make is we try to make our games be in different genres. So Flotilla was like a turn-based spaceship game. 30 Flights of Loving was like a short-form narrative game. Atom Zombie Smasher is kind of like a top-down strategy game. And this is our take on immersive sims. And it'll be, it's a genre that we all love a lot and is very special. And why not try making your hand try doing one.
Yeah, I mean, like that takes a lot to be like, okay, well, for our next project, let's do something completely different, right? Like that takes a lot. Like, why do you feel as a company you want to do that?
I think
tackle different games.
Yeah. So I do think business-wise, it makes sense to get good at doing a thing and to get really good at it, and then to use all the information and knowledge base that you've built to keep making a better thing. But I think there's just something fun about seeing someone do something that they haven't done before and to see how they do it. Like, I love it when comedic actors do dramatic roles, or like when dramatic actors do comedic roles. Like, get out of your comfort zone, see how they interpret it. Yes.
Yeah, like Liam Neeson.
I gotta Google.
Oh, Tim.
Oh,
Heidecker?
I'm so excited for that.
Oh boy. If you've never watched On Cinema at the Cinema, I'm just gonna plug it now. Anyone who loves comedy, On Cinema at the Cinema is like the most intricate piece of art comedy that has ever been made, and I'm not joking about that. It's gone on for over a decade. It's a whole thing.
That's high praise.
Great. It's great. It's mwah.
Wait, sorry. This is the guy who says it's free real estate from Tim and Eric Awesome Sugar.
Yeah, that's yeah. That's
Tim.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I like
On
that.
Cinema,
Hilarious.
Peak.
Nice.
I think from a design perspective, also tackling different games, like different genres each time you start a new project, in my opinion, is where innovation comes from as well. Because I'm not going to name the franchise. You make a game, it's successful, and then you repeatedly make that game forever. Because from a business perspective, your audience understand what they're going to get, and also you have the team and the back end of already creating that thing. But that leads to the same systems being used repeatedly in the same exact way, because that's just how it was done. I speak about this a lot in some of my episodes of Design Delve, of the idea of like cargo cult thinking and doing things a certain way because that's just the way they're done, and not really understanding why. And I think you can kind of get a little bit like that. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think a big part of it's about risk. It's like you were saying, Brendon, like you get good at a thing and you keep doing that because you're better at it. Your risk for your risk for failure is lower because you are successful at it already. It makes sense. So it's a huge risk that you guys take, just doing a different genre at a time. That sounds crazy, to be honest with you. And I guess you're right. It's something where when I saw that you guys are making Skin Deep and ImSim, I thought, wow. When I think about all the indie FPS games that are out there, there's a lot of different types. But I think about ones that are one of the biggest, let's say, like trends recently of the indie FPS scene. It's boomer shooters, right? They're very aesthetic dependent. It's not to say that their design is shallow, but they don't have to tackle a lot of the challenges that you have to with an immersive sim. I'm curious, first of all, I guess, like how all of us sort of define an immersive sim, like what makes an immersive sim. So I feel like it's one of those more ambiguous genres, and you've probably heard this question a lot. So What is it for you, Brendon?
I mean, I think it's super murky, and I think that like there is no one definition for it. So I think if you ask 10 people, you'll get 10 different answers. For me, like I grew up, like one of my favorite games growing up was Thief. I
Hell yeah.
adored that game. I thought it was really, really good. And for me, it's a game that like lets you explore a world and approach obstacles from like many different ways that are sometimes like not even ways that the designers themselves intended for, just because the systems just kind of like let you play with things and interact with things in ways that are just systemic and just work magically. So it's kind of like how I see it, of just give the players a bunch of tools and just let them go at it.
Right. It's like there's the tool component. I always say, and I don't know if this is ambiguous to describe ambiguous, but like semi-open level design, right? It's not linear. It's not open world. It's somewhere in between. But it's one of those genres that, you have to have this other component, as you're saying, of like systems interacting with systems and surprise designers. That's like the ideal immersive sim makeup. But I don't know, Jay, Priscilla, what defines it for you guys?
I feel like I'm probably the most like the least familiar with MSims of this group. Like I was gonna be like, does Hitman count? Like
Kind of.
I think so.
I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
I think so.
Okay. If it
Semi-open level
counts,
design.
yeah, like people luring people and using things and things interacting, because I really enjoy Hitman quite a lot. I got into it a couple years ago and played it a lot. Had a lot of fun. I'm the type of player where if I mess up my objective, I immediately restart.
Yep.
Love that game. I actually didn't know that Thief was an MSim, and now I need to go check it out because I worked with Randy on Jet the Far Shore. So yeah, I'm like, I know, I've like heard a lot about it through him, but I somehow did not realize it was an MSim. So now I'm like very intrigued by it. But yeah, I think like for me, probably playing like Skin Deep, during development has been like the most I've interacted with like the specific genre, and I think it's great. Like what I've learned from seeing people's reactions to the demo is that they aren't typically like intentionally like slapstick humory, and that's kind of wild to me because it just works so well. Like it's just so much fun to have these like really funny, ridiculous interactions when you're going through a level. Like literally, even though I've been playing it for, a while now, like recently, when the demo came out, I played it and I was doing the laundromat level, and like it's happened before, but like every single time I slip and fall on the soap while I'm trying to like knock out a pirate, it makes me laugh so hard. So it's great. I've been having a lot of fun with it.
So cool. From my perspective, you guys, I think, have nailed it already for me. But like, I think a lot of it comes down to systems and kind of like realism, not in the sense of realistic graphics or realistic interactions, but also like the believability, the verisimilitude of a specific system and like how they interact. I think in a lot of immersive sims, you have to be able to see a system or an object and think, well, it should probably do this. And then in an immersive sim, it should probably do that, right? Like, because once you start looking at tools and options to complete objectives, and then they aren't doing the things you would assume they would do, I think the idea of the immersive sim just crumbles, because you start to look at a thing and go, well, that probably doesn't work, and I'm not going to try that, right? And then people start doing the same things over and over, and it kind of crumbles. So I think like the believability of all of that is really important, and because of that, most of that comes down to one, making your systems really cohesive and intense, but because of that, doing a lot of testing to see how they work. Like, what was testing like for you guys? I bet that was crazy.
It was a lot. Yeah. So
Yeah.
kind of going back to what you're talking about, like interactivity. The general approach was to have it so that if something looks interactive, then we want you to be able to interact with it. Like if it has buttons or hinges on it, then we want to let the player interact with it and have interactive stuff be interactable. Which was a little bit of because I think a lot of games get away with having these really beautiful, wonderfully rendered worlds, but some stuff is just like baked into the world that you cannot touch, or is just kind of like a decorational piece that you can't move around or interact with. So our challenge was to try to make the world be, like you're saying, cohesive, to try to make the things be readable and consistent with each other. Which made testing pretty challenging because you have to just keep banging on the game and finding some obscure case of if
That's a good way to put it.
Z happen. Yeah.
Just keep banging on the game. That's just like QA is already quality assurance playtesting. Not to be too inside baseball for those of you who don't know, is testing the game, right? Finding bugs, reporting them, communicating with the engineers, the artists, whoever is fixing the designers. And it's already a lot of banging. You're just kind of banging away at all the different things. You could have a non-immersive sim game. You could have the most linear game in the world, and there'll still be a lot of banging. But in an immersive sim, it's going to be multiplied a lot. So because all these systems need to touch each other. And as soon as you get one that hits the other and it like doesn't work as you expect, oh no, we had such a high expectation of the player that the systems that interact, now one doesn't. You kind of ruin things a bit.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Like thank goodness for QA. We have a wonderful QA team working on it. And I used to work at a place called Pandemic Studios back in the day, and I remember one of their QA people worked on a wrestling game. I think I don't remember which one.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yes, but they had to like try on every single hat that the wrestler could wear, and like try every combination of vest and hat.
Dude.
And I was like, oh my goodness, because you just got to do that to make it work.
Man, I'm getting flashbacks because, and I'm not an artist, so I feel bad about this. But like as a designer on Insurgency Sandstorm, it was a war game, right? It was about contemporary Middle Eastern, West Asian conflict in like the 2010s. It was multiplayer, and we had customization, but we didn't do the hero shooter style customization where you just have a full body mesh replacement that like you swap out, I don't know, just a texture, material, some skins. We had slots. There was the head slot, the face slot, the eye slot. Sometimes a secondary slot up there, and then the shirt that you have, all those, and then different heads. All those things had to interact with each other, and it was really tough for our artists. It's a big lift whenever you have any sort of like slot-based customization stuff. Everything has to work with everything else. Fortunately, players seem a little more lax. They're like a little more okay with clipping. It seems like it seems that way, at least to me. I don't know.
The only people I know who are really against it are my game dev artist friends. Like I have one of my best friends, my best friend in the world. He's a 3D artist, and I lived with him for years, and I would hear him playing like God of War Ragnarok, and I just hear him screaming. He'd be like, "Clipping!" Like he'd just be so mad. Just like, chill out, dude. Chill out. It's okay. It's all right. The world's not collapsing. It's all good.
I sometimes wonder about that. Like I'll spend so much time fixing some like super small detail, and I think like, does this really matter? I don't know. Like it's hard. Are people gonna notice this?
You go and play Splatoon, and like half of the clothing items are clipping through each other, and it's like it's fine.
And that's high production, right? Like it's.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's surprising. I mean, it's always hard to get out of your own head, right, as a developer, and think like, what do players actually care about? I want to ask the chat, people in the chat, how tolerant are you of clipping? And to be clear, clipping like having a mesh, a model, go into another model, That's the kind of clipping that I'm talking about, right?
Like long hair clipping through a certain clothing item you equip
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, a back
It's
Yeah,
always
or
hair.
into the shirt.
It's always the hair
Kratos.
clipping.
It's the fucking hair, Priscilla. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it?
Sometimes there are games where I will equip short hair on purpose to avoid that.
Yeah, yeah.
That means
'Cause
you
can
care
tell-
about clipping.
I might a little bit.
Okay, so
That
there's
means
one who
you care.
cares.
Yeah,
But I also
the one
care about audio
yeah.
clipping, so it's fair.
Oh, of course.
100%, 1,000%. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about audio in depth a little bit later on. I've got a couple more questions about the idea of like these systems and how they interact. Brendon, like, how do you teach the player? Because people forget about this, and I talk about this in my show of just like tutorialization and teaching the player in an immersive sim. You can't teach the player how every single system works. Like, a lot of it has to be self-discovery. Like, where do you draw that line? Like, because there has to be enough to want to pull threads, right?
Yeah. So the general approach to teaching things, I think, is kind of a three-part thing, where first you have to give them context for what the thing is, and then you have to show them a demonstration of it happening IRL, like before their eyes in the world, and then you have them like actually do the thing. So it's kind of like building scaffolding for learning a concept.
Yeah.
Which is ideal. If you could do all that, that's super ideal. But in a video game, you only have like limited time and budget and like player attention to do things.
Yeah.
So we do this for certain concepts that we really, 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 really need the player to understand. And then for other things, we'll try to find other, like, maybe not the entire suite of those three things I was talking about, but maybe like at least two of them to give the player context for what it is, or to have like notes in the level that like have people talking about the thing, and then to give them the opportunity to do it by just
Threads. Yeah.
You're picking your
Threads to
battles.
pull,
You're
right?
prioritizing. It sounds like.
yeah, exactly.
And also,
It's
like,
true. Yeah.
the self-discovery is a huge part of immersive sims. If the game just told you exactly how every system works, you would just pick the one that gives you the path of least resistance, because gamers will optimize the fun out of a game. Like, discovering these systems makes it a reward, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about like the way some of my friends played the original Deus Ex. Like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm not going to stealth anywhere. I'm going to get the Gep gun. I'm going to blow the hell out of everybody. And I'm like, okay, well, the game's all right with that, but the narrative is quite deep. And you just,
Nah.
the absolute bootlick of a man who just like listens to what all the other characters tell you to do. No wondering about if the people you're working for might be dubious. It's fun that a game that a game can allow that, and that's the great thing about immersive sims, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of miraculous that the game works letting you do that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god,
It's hilarious.
I remember playing. I think it was like the first one I ever played. I played Deus Ex Human Revolution?
Yeah.
It went Invisible War was number 2, then Human Revolution
Yes.
was the
Human Revolution was the first Deus Ex game I played when I was younger, and I've gone back and played the arguably, in my opinion, better previous games. But I remember getting into Deus Ex and being a huge FPS fan when I was young, getting a revolver, and then not understanding why everyone was just killing me and I couldn't kill them properly. Like, I was like, this game's broken. I don't like, there's like in the early game, you can go through a vent and avoid enemies and stuff. And the game tells you to do it. And as a kid, I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go blow these guys up. And, you know,
and you picked the wrong gun to do it, so to speak, is what you're saying. You're saying the revolver was just like a weak gun to decide to be.
I think it's just the gun, the only gun I had access to. And the game was trying to teach you, tutorialize. You don't need to take every combat engagement, right? This room that you're entering isn't just a room for combat. You know, there's more stuff you can do. And my kid brain was like, get fucked. Like I'm gonna shoot these
also
guys.
FPS gamer brain, right? Because it's hard to teach when somebody's already been taught something or learned something.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you as a gamer had to kind of unlearn. And the hardest part
Yeah.
about that, I feel like, is the perspective of an immersive sim is pretty much exactly the same as an FPS. Obviously, like a UI can be a little different, but it's tough to like kind of point people in the right direction. And I guess that's what you experienced. It wasn't all just kid brain, you could argue, at least.
Yeah. I do love it when like games somehow manage to fit both of these approaches. Like I really liked the Machine Games, Wolfenstein games.
Oh, yeah.
How
Great.
there's like a stealth element, but you could just blast everyone and it's fine.
Yeah, which
Like,
feels more Wolfenstein at its core, but I think that the stealth aspect of the game is way more entertaining in the long run. But a lot of people are just gonna want to go in and kick stuff with like what's the main guy of that guy? The main guy of that game,
Jay
like Dick
Blazkowicz.
Blast or something.
EJ Blazkowicz.
Jay Blazkowicz.
Priscilla laughed. Yeah, go ahead.
So, a couple years ago, I tried to play Wolfenstein, and I didn't make it off the airplane at the very beginning of
Really?
the game.
Okay.
Why not?
I couldn't find the object I was supposed to interact with. And so I kept dying again and again and again. I just couldn't find the object. And I was like, this is stressing me out too much. I closed it out. And this was like crucially before I really started playing a lot more games. Like I kind of like for a long time I got really stressed out playing games, especially when it was that kind of thing of like you can die a ton of times in a row and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so like I was really interested in playing it. And I probably will go back and play it now that I am a more accomplished gamer. But it was like really like frustrating because I couldn't, like what Brendon was talking about earlier with like items being interactable and that kind of thing and like making it very clear what's interactable. Not so in that game.
Yeah. Well, because as a game, like there's so much, talk about like learning and how that can mislead you to playing a game wrong. We also do rely on a lot of that prior game knowledge. Like, if you're not an experienced gamer and you go and you play any first-person game, you kind of you think you can touch anything because that's what you can do from your real life first-person eyeballs. It's hard to find like. As much as we talk about like, the designer's going to lead me and make it easy for me with like the light over the door, Valve style or whatever. Yeah. That's a learned thing too, like as a gamer. So it makes sense that you experienced that in a game like Wolfenstein, where by the way, all of you talking about, was it the New Colossus or I'm trying to remember which, it was the first Wolfenstein reboot that came out in like 2018? I forget the name.
That sounds
but if it's that. Yeah, well, anyway, the aesthetics of that game were beautiful, right? Like, it was a crazy looking game. It was awesome. It's all the more confusing to figure out, like, where the hell the button is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, New Order was
think,
that
like,
one.
New Order, sorry. New Colossus was... Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was thinking Priscilla. Oh. I was gonna say that, like,
I think
games, like you're saying, Mike, that games definitely do have a lot of pre-built-in language and knowledge that they kind of assume people know. I think the same is true for like watching a movie. Like if you do a certain kind of cut, certain kind of camera move, the movie's trying to like say something to you. But if you told a space alien to watch that, they would like say like, I'm totally not getting parts of this that you're getting. And I think the same is for games, like in a first-person game, a strategy game, puzzle game. They kind of assume sometimes that you have played other games in that genre, and so it can be pretty challenging to jump into that and to not have that.
Yeah.
I wonder,
especially from a designer's perspective, because it's very easy to create a puzzle. As someone who has puzzles in my game that I'm currently creating, you can spend months, designing and testing a puzzle, and things become extremely obvious to you, and you don't feel like they need to be explained, right? This is how it works. Well, yeah, you made the thing, dickhead, right? Like, other people don't know that, and that's something I learned early on when I was studying game dev. Was I would design things thinking they're very obvious and very clear, and the actual challenge of the puzzle was finding the solution. Whereas when I actually tested it with people, the puzzle itself wasn't challenging. Learning what the puzzle was the issue, and sometimes that can be a puzzle in itself, but only if that was your intention, right?
Yeah.
If not, then it's just like you've messed up. So it's really hard to get out of that headspace. And I think this, for me, a lot of what we're talking about is just a big shout out to QA and testers of just, if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be able to get out of that headspace, because I think that's what mentally resets me, is people getting to look at what I've made and struggle. And then I suddenly realized,
Yeah, you got to have that, right? You got to have people outside your own head that try that. It's why so many studios, I'm sure we've all heard it, and I feel like gamers get this too. Like, the test as much as possible, test a lot. The phrase I've heard said, if it's not real, if it's not in the build, like get it in, try it, make sure it makes sense with all the other things that you have. Make sure it's not frustrating. Make sure it actually is working as the designer intended it to. And also make sure like all of the pieces are in there together. I'm thinking about, communication between design and QA is very important. I've probably mentioned this anecdote before, but working on Sandstorm military game, we added night combat. We added like infrared flashlights and night vision goggles and normal flashlights and all these different pieces that help make night combat tense and different from day combat. And having QA come and saying like, oh, like this doesn't feel very fun yet. I'm not sure like what the good piece is. And design has to say like, well, hold on, like there's other pieces coming. Like, we're going to get the infrared lights going. We're going to get the different color filters. We're going to balance the supply costs of all these things. It's hard also to do. It's another component that makes QA and playtesting hard is like, when is everything there that needs to be? And like, when do you move on to the next layer? It's a real process. And I imagine, again, make it an immersive sim, it's all the more difficult because all the systems, man, there's just so many systems basically.
Yeah. Like, I think you're totally right that like when you are a creative person making a creative piece of work, and it's hard for you as the creator to like evaluate and judge, does this work? Is this fun? Is this going to like read to people? So then you put it in front of other people, which is what you need to do to like verify whether the thing is actually working or is it a big mess. But then, there's that extra challenge of like, we need to get this in front of people, but in order to do that, there's like all these components that we don't yet have in the game. So then how do we go in the future and justify, or verify that stuff works? So it definitely becomes a challenge of like trying to figure out a solution to have a bunch of stuff in the game that you don't have yet, but having to find a way to verify that stuff is working. So I don't know. It's just
the side. I sympathize with this. I have like, I'm working on my own project, which I can't speak in detail about too much because a lot of it's on the wraps. But like, I'm getting to the point now where I am ready to start like doing testing, and like we've got all the systems. The art pipeline is mostly there, and I've made some drastic changes to a lot of it, and I'm really proud of it. But I also have this anxiety of I've been working on something in isolation and not showing anyone, and I have lots of peers in the industry that I really value their opinion, and I really like. Well, what I want them to do is rip the game apart so I can improve it. That's the main thing. But also, there's this. I hope people like this, and I hope people think the idea is worth exploring further. And I think that's just because it's my first big project. I've made tons of small games, but none where I'm like, this is something that I want to release and have be a big proper thing using the platform I have. So I need to get over that anxiety of like test often, right, and test early is what I should be doing. But at the moment, I'm just in my own little cave. Like, no, don't look.
Yeah,
Don't look until it's done.
It's hard.
And it's like it will never get done until you test.
It's
Right.
very difficult.
I need to get over that.
I find that, I mean, I'm just kind of throwing this out there to you or to anybody who's like at that point with their project. It does get easier the moment you start. So as soon as you get over that hump where you say, okay, here it comes, the first time that the public or just anybody other than me / the team is going to touch it and like play it. As soon as you start doing that, there's all this anticipation, as you're saying, the anxiety even. As soon as you do it the first time, it gets easier immediately. They start giving you feedback. You go, oh my God, that's it. I now know what I need to do next. And you do that. And they're like, oh, that's so much better. And then you are immediately learning a new loop that's only going to make the game better. It's not going to make the game worse. It's going to mean more work, but that's what you were going to do anyway, right? So
yeah, I don't know what it is like, because when I went to GDC this year, I tried to meet as many people as I could and let them know about this idea so they could give me valuable feedback, which is, this thing works, this thing definitely doesn't work, you need to look at this. That's gold dust, right? Like when a tester or someone in the industry comes in and gives you feedback, that is, you need to focus on this, you need to fix this. It's not that I want people to like it, it's that, I don't get it. I don't understand the anxiety. I think it's just
it's not
anxiety.
fully rational, right? It's just our
it's
just
not.
our brains. It's when you care about something and you want it to go as good as possible, and there's a lot of different ways to get there. So it sounds like you're dealing with it the right way. You know what you got to do. You just got to find the time to do it, and you will.
Yeah, for sure. Like how do you tackle that, Brendon? Like do you do it with did you test with individual systems and then just add more and more and more to it so to see how they interact, or would you just effectively give testers a sandbox and just be like, try and do a thing, right?
I think we started by building out kind of like a rough version of the game, of some levels in the game. And then we had some friends of ours play it, and just to give us feedback on like where this kind of test level that we had was. And we found it pretty helpful to pretty explicitly tell people, like, we do want, like, please don't be nice, like, give us real feedback. We are friends, and like everything's cool, don't worry about it.
Everything's cool.
The game is busted.
It's good to say that. It's totally right.
Yeah, because I think sometimes if people don't have that explicit permission, they can be put in a situation where they might feel like, oh, maybe I should just like be more supportive, or maybe what they think you need right now is like positive reinforcement, when in fact you might not want that. A friend of ours actually, he sometimes doesn't tell people that they are the one making the game. Like,
interesting.
Hey, a friend of mine is making this game. Do you want to check it out for them?
That's really funny.
That's wild. I love it.
That's a straight up good idea, honestly.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's this idea of like, whenever I go through and tell people my ideas and like my plans for my game and stuff like that, sometimes getting nothing but positive feedback means you didn't really get any, because you're not sure what's true. Like, because they might just be blowing smoke up your ass for whatever reason, right? But if you get 9 really positive things and 1 that is just like, hey, this one thing you're doing is really bad and feels bad and you need to focus on it, validates the rest of the positive feedback, because you're like, okay, they're not just saying nice things because, right? And that's super, super valuable.
And I think that like, I think some people might not mean it when they're like being nice. Like, they might not intentionally be trying to like steer you, but I think that what I find most helpful is to just physically be there and to watch their screen as they play, because you can say things that might not necessarily reflect what actually happened, but if you're watching them get stuck in a room for 20 minutes, you can't really lie. Like,
no
lying there.
Yeah,
it's true.
And are you hands off in that situation? Are you just watching as an observer, or do you ask questions, and then like, how do you gather that feedback from testers?
Yeah, it's a mix of not giving them any help at all, but to do help them if something is like obviously broken, or if they have if they don't have knowledge that they should have gotten already in the campaign.
Yeah.
But other than that, just to let them go willy-nilly and get stuck in the game.
Yeah, that's the information you want, right? Like a player getting soft locked by knowledge, right? Of just being like, I have no idea what to do is super valuable, because you're like, okay, well, maybe we're not presenting this information intensely enough. I think it's one of the most fascinating things about games like Immersive Sims, or I don't know if you guys have played the roguelite puzzle game Blueprints.
Not yet, but I feel like I have based on social media.
Yeah. It's fascinating because we were talking about it on the Windbreaker podcast, in the sense of, because a lot of that game, the main currency in the game is knowledge and what you know and what you understand. As a designer, we can't really guarantee that the player has that information. You have provided them the piece of paper that has the information on it, and they may have opened it, but you can't tell if they've read it or like actually comprehended what you're saying. So you can't proceed like within steps. You have to give more threads so they can, if effectively more puzzles for them to unlock. So they have to digest that information. And I view Immersive Sims in a similar way, right? Like, apart from there are usually multiple answers to those puzzles, right? Like, how do you get into a room? Oh, hello, pup. Sorry, my dog's coming over.
Ludo is a adorable dog. You might be about to
it.
see. No, okay.
Oh, she's off. She's off.
Goodbye.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, you know, like I was saying earlier, I was not previously the most like avid gamer. Like, I mostly would play like narrative games or puzzle games or that kind of thing. And then, like, a couple years ago, Elden Ring came out, and I bought it being like, I might play an hour of this, and I'll probably bounce off of it. I played over 700 hours. I beat it twice. That was my first Souls game. I played the DLC. But the funny thing for me is, like, I beat every boss in that game solo. I didn't summon help for those. Like, I needed to earn that. And so, like, the DLC came out, and I loved it all until I got to the last boss. And what happened...
Same.
For me is, and I actually have a video I've been like working on that I'm gonna post at some point, where I like stitch together a bunch of like video recordings and stuff from my playthrough, and I ended up breaking the game to beat it on Xbox. So like no console stuff, nothing that way. I just like used a bunch of the rot pots and did the like sneaking with the mimic veil, and so he never saw me. He didn't touch me until the very end. I got him to phase and I put the mimic thing on. He couldn't see me. He walked around. He glitched out. He disappeared, and I won. And I was like, this is like the most perfect way for me to win this game. As someone who like spent that much time, like I would say probably 95 to 98% of the items in the game. I did every cave, everything. Like I was obsessed with it, and now I'm like, I need to play more Elden Ring, unfortunately.
I cannot. My experience was the exact same. Like I played not 700, but I played a lot of hours of Elden Ring, and I played the DLC in the exact same way. I did everything. I did every cave. I got every item I possibly could. And then I got to the end boss. He was just like handing me my ass repeatedly, and so like more intensely than any other boss.
Yeah, I tried so many tactics. I switched classes. I tried different armor sets. I never really used a shield for the entire time I played, and then I started using a shield for that fight just specifically. And yeah, it just I couldn't get it the way I mean, I could barely get him to phase 2, and I was also like letting myself get summoned so I could help other people and also get some practice. I didn't see a single person win. Not a single person. I would play it for hours, just helping people for hours, being summoned again and again and again. No one won.
Yeah, it's super intense, and I did the thing of I did everything before I got to the end boss, got there, died a handful of times. Then I went online and I saw Kai Sinat, the streamer, he had been like fighting that boss for like 40 hours straight.
Oh my god!
And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm like,
That's it.
I don't need.
I don't want that
need
in my.
this.
If that's in my future, I don't want to do it.
I've got videos to make. I'm done. I'm okay.
But it was so weird to have that experience too, because the rest of the game felt so like, I could get through the fight. I could get to a point where it's like, okay, I think I've got this. Like, I think I understand like what tactics I need to use and everything. And then the last fight. But yeah, I adore that game so much. Like, my dad actually played it too. It was very cute. He would summon me and I would help him with bosses. It was great. It was great. It was like the first big game he had played since Skyrim came out. So it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I really do think Elden Ring is the best like FromSoft game to get people into the genre. It's very accessible. I had that same experience with like my friends who had never played a Souls game playing Dark Souls 3 and having them summon me to like effectively walk them through the game and like like in their words, not mine, like hold their hand. I had this friend who was like very weird. Yeah, because they didn't like the exploration aspect of the game, which is the complete opposite of me. I love the exploration.
That's what I'm
but
there for.
I'm not too hot on the bosses. Like I get it, but I'm like, yeah, okay, you're effectively just a barrier so I can explore the next area. But they were the opposite. They'd be like, hand walk me through the areas and show me where everything is, and then in the boss, come in with me and go stand in the corner. And they didn't realize that makes the boss twice as hard because it gives them double health.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But we did that for the entire game, and I would just like sit in the corner, just going, yeah. It was
just doing the moats.
It was so much fun, right?
That's so funny. Yeah, I think what's interesting about that game though is just that like it's so opaque, but like even though it's so opaque and like cryptic with like the story and like kind of giving you direction on where to go, like I never felt frustrated by it. And I kind of viewed it like the first playthrough, I kind of just like went with the flow. And then on the second one, I was like, okay, here's the NPCs I kind of like missed out on. And so then on my second play, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to like read some guides and figure this out. To get my, I had to get the other items clearly. But yeah, I really expected to bounce off of that. 'Cause like I said, I was not like the biggest gamer. Like I played Halo for the first time like a couple years ago with my partner. We did like couch co-op and I had so much fun. I had no idea those games were actually fun. I like legitimately.
That's a great way to get into that genre. If that sounds like it was one of your first, that's a great game series for it.
Well, when it came out and like when I was growing up, the marketing and everything made it seem so like self-serious and everything. Like I had no idea that like half of it was like driving cars that are terrible to drive, that like going off cliffs and stuff. Like
fun.
Yeah.
The grunt sounds silly.
I really didn't know that it was like such a kind of like funny game. It just had never really come across that way with like the people I knew who play them, or like I said, like the marketing at the time, like in the 2000s, like made it seem very like serious.
Oh yeah,
or whatever.
Believe,
no, I
right.
totally.
The Believe campaign for Halo 3. It's like, right, it's cool. Like I get it, but you can alienate some of your players. You're actually making me think about something. I guess Bungie has always been good at that because there is some seriousness and some gravitas, but there's also some obvious humor. Like Marathon, the original Marathon is a good example of that. You have the silly lines, Frog Blast Event Core, and the kind of goofy deaths and voiceover. But then you like go to a terminal and you're like, oh my god, this AI consciousness understands itself. And he's telling me a metaphor about candles and life. What's going on? Like,
what's happening?
It's a really awesome.
It makes them hit harder, right?
It does.
With the seriousness. Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Maybe they're good at that. Yeah, good.
Does the Halo sandbox mode count as ImSim when you're playing with people and you have all those different things interacting?
Oh, do you mean like the when you make something in the fort? What would the sandbox mode be?
Yeah, the sand. I don't know what it's called specifically. Maybe someone else does.
Is it the level editor like Forge when you?
Yeah, Forge. That's what it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you. Yeah,
I got like 2 of my younger brothers in there. They had already played all the Halo games like forever ago, but we ended up doing like remote co-op in the Forge mode, and it was just hysterical. Oh my god, some of the funniest. Yeah, it was so much fun.
I didn't know they let you do co-op building stuff.
Yeah,
really
they
cool.
do. At least in the new, like, the Master Chief Collection or whatever. Yeah, like, we were doing things like putting the spawn points, like, over water so people would get trapped in death loops and stuff. It was so funny.
My god.
That's a great series.
I worked on a Lord of the Rings game back in the day, and we had a thing
Conquest, right?
Conquest, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And we had a thing where the level editor, you can drag stuff, like props and stuff around the world, but it would like update live in the game. So it was like hooked up to the level editor. And we found a thing where you can like, we did some stuff where you could like jump on a prop, and then the level editor, you can like pick up the prop and drag it around. The guy would just kind of like ride around in this giant block. It was and I love it. You know, it's. I think there's something fun about having multiple people be in the same world, creating things together. There's something that's really, really special, I think.
Yeah. Gmod.
Hell, I mean,
Gmod did that really well.
Yeah, Gmod, Minecraft. Let's think about like some of the great, the huge hits of the 2010s, I guess it would be, and how they were about that. It's like you and your buddies, and you're just making stuff, and maybe there's not even a goal other than just get more stuff.
Unstructured play.
Unstructured play, parallel play, even. I'll play survival games with my friends, and I'll do like, I mean, I like to be the adventurer. I like to run around, and my friend will do like the building, and like we might play for half an hour and not say a word to each other because I'm down in the caves killing stuff, and they're up and above the caves, you know, putting this thing on that thing and making another thing over here, and then we come back. It's like, hey, I brought you some food, and then we go back. It's like. The term I've heard for that is parallel play, which is like when children, you know, they get together and they play with toys. But actually, it's interesting you mentioned that. I wanted to ask you, that was your time in pandemic or at pandemic, right?
Yeah.
What was it like there? Because I feel like I really liked some of the stuff that old pandemic had. I was a huge fan of Mercenaries, Playground of Destruction, whatever the full name was. You ever do any work on that? Were you like, did you work with people who worked on that? That was one of my favorite, like, surprising hit games in my life, at least.
Yeah. I was hired there the week after that was released, and
no shit.
I love that game. I thought it was really good. It was a open world game set in a war zone, and there were 3 different factions, and they had a gag in it that I think is really, really special, where each of the 3 characters knows a different language. And there's 3 factions that speak 3 different languages. Yep. And when you are the character who knows that language, they do the VO in English. But if you're not playing that character, you'll just hear it in their native language, and you just like don't really know what they're saying.
That's
and
awesome.
I thought, oh my god, that's brilliant.
It's awesome because the game is like, there's a lot of open world games that have like modernness or like, I guess you could say, a military theme, Stalker, but it's not like military. It's not geopolitical, right? And Mercenaries' whole premise is you are a mercenary, and North Korea finally popped off, and the UN is there, the Chinese are there, the Russian mafia is there, the South Koreans are there, but they're like working with the American CIA. Like it felt very involved. So like you would play, I think there was there was an Asian British character who spoke Chinese. So when you went and took a mission from the Chinese, the quest giver would talk to his lieutenant or his captain in Chinese, thinking you don't understand, or maybe he does know, and like feed you a little information. The Black American character, I think, spoke Korean. So you would like talk to the CIA guy, and he's a CIA guy, right? So he's like, he's always scheming. He's got something going on, and he's telling the Koreans about it, but you hear it, and it just gave like a little bit of more narrative to the game. But you only knew it if you had to commit to one of those characters. So you only got insight to one of the languages. I think the Swedish character spoke Russian. So you heard what the Russian mafia was up to whenever you took it. It was a really cool idea. That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, I did not work on that one. I worked on the third one that never came out.
Really? I was reading about that recently.
Yeah, that was I don't know where that's at right now, but yeah, I worked on that, and I worked on a game called Full Spectrum Warrior 10 Hammers, which is a cover shooter strategy game from that time.
I mean, I guess it's no surprise because I like military games, but I liked Full Spectrum Warrior. That was a great one. It was innovative. It was like third-person strategy. I don't know.
Yeah.
How would you call it?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting hybrid between a third-person game, but you don't directly control a person. You move a cursor around, and then you order different teams around to like flank people. Yeah, it's pretty unique. Like, there's not many games that I can really compare it to. And it's, I think it was an example of like a cover shooter before cover shooters kind of like fully popped off.
Yeah.
That's true. Because before that, it was what? Winback on the N64 and Kill Switch.
Yeah.
And Winback was just a light gun game based, like the tone of it, a lot of the design, but you could move around a little bit and choose where you wanted to take cover. I don't know. That's what it felt like to me, at least. Like Time Crisis, but you could move around in between your spaces.
And then I think Gears of War came out, and that kind of made the...
Yeah, Gears of War, like...
snowballed the cover shooter genre into oblivion.
Cover shooters, yeah. So anybody out there listening, if you want to sound like a smarmy nerd, and somebody says the first cover-based shooter, Gears of War, you can push up your glasses and go, well, actually, there's a few before that. Prepare your Reddit.
Go into excessive detail describing exactly how they work. So Brendon, I think that really strikes me from the trailers, Skin Deep, is the humor, which is something I haven't seen a lot in a lot of immersive sims. They tend to, apart from in some of the minute details, they tend to take themselves quite seriously. For some reason, how do you approach humor from a design perspective? Are you constantly thinking about how to set up and then execute on jokes as you're designing like the game and the systems and the interactions?
Yes, but I think it's not something that we really like consciously or intentionally do. I think it's just because of the makeup of our team. It just kind of naturally steers in that direction. Like, I like we were talking about Hitman earlier. Like, I love how that game ping pongs between stuff that's like really grim and dark, but also like really silly, like exploding golf ball or exploding rubber ducky.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yes. And I think like just like our level designers, Tynan Wales and Suzanne Will, they just like have great design instincts, and they kind of naturally steer toward making things kind of having fun with the thing, having it be not so self-serious. And our director, Laura Mache, who has done a great job of like making the tone have like these really different emotional beats of like, this part is really intense and real, this part is really like more goofy and light. And I think there's something special about having a spectrum of emotions. We love doing that. We think it makes it feel like more of a full meal that you're getting.
Yeah.
I love that you did a straight up Looney Tunes stunned animation of the I don't even know how to describe it. Like
funny. It's like
how would you say? There's like one frame, like a person's getting electrocuted. There's a frame like this, and they go straight to a frame like this.
Yes.
And it's you just go in between those. That was hilarious, and it really helps you set the tone, right? I found, at least when I was looking at the game.
That was our animator Tom Eljon, and he did an incredible job making these characters like feel really, really goofy and intimidating also. And I think like you get a lot of mileage also out of keeping things not totally realistic. Like when I was working on
yeah.
Full Spectrum Warrior 2, something that the designers and I always sometimes talked about was like, well, the game takes place in the real world. There's no magic. There's no like spells you can cast. There's no sci-fi stuff. And it was, it was a bit of a challenge to figure out design mechanic stuff that has to work in the real world all the time. So keeping things a bit more cartoony, a bit more like rubbery, a bit more exaggerated, gives you a lot of leeway to design stuff.
Totally.
And experiment as a player, right?
Yeah.
Like goes back to like thinking about, oh, how is this thing going to interact? You have the benefit of having the realism aspect of, well, yeah, this is how water would interact with electricity, but also from a cartoony, like slapsticky perspective as well. Like, what would this do? You have this greater spectrum of ideas of what things could possibly do for interactions, which is really, really interesting. Another thing that I think is really important about like setting tone, as a sound designer myself, Priscilla, I know that sound and music has a huge part to play in setting a tone, and I have quite a few questions about sound. But first off, like, what do you feel your role through doing sound is in setting a lot of the tone of the game?
Yeah, so on Skin Deep, I didn't have really a hand in the sound design side of things. But even in the music, kind of going back to what Brendon was talking about with this like mix of kind of like tones with like having things being like serious or funny, that came to play a lot in the music. I think one of our earliest conversations, we were talking about the Please Mr. Kennedy song from Inside Llewyn Davis, if you're familiar with that. As a touchstone.
No, I don't know that one.
You don't? Oh, you've got to watch that movie, Oscar Isaac.
I'm writing it down right now.
Do it. So there's a scene in that movie where it's Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver, and Justin Timberlake singing a song together.
Wow.
Oh.
I'm selling you on this.
Interesting trio.
It's fantastic.
I like Adam
actually,
Driver a lot. Yeah.
I think it's Adam Driver's.
Cool yeah.
I think it's Adam Driver's best performance, personally. Yes, great image there.
Damn.
Eric's got it together.
It's great. But that was like a touchstone for us because in the context of the movie, it's a bad song. But it's well written, and it has to be well written, and it has to be interesting in order for the joke to land that it's telling.
Yeah.
And so like that was a really early touchstone for us with like, we want there to be a lot of like really silly, weird music, but also there has to be some stuff in there that is taking itself like a little bit more seriously or coming from a more earnest kind of a point of view. Yeah, and so, I hope I'm like so anxious for people to like start discovering like music in the game and everything. But yeah, that was definitely like one of the big intentions with the music, because it's it's kind of split between two things across the game. There's like music that happens in more like story-based levels and sequences in the game. And then there is like the diegetic music. So there are radios you can encounter and carry around and, have playing and that kind of thing. You can turn a radio on and throw it at a pirate and hear the volume get quieter as it flies across the room. It's great. So there's the diegetic music. I kind of like went weirder and sillier because I want you to hear like an advertisement for ramen noodles that's like a jingle playing like while you're getting beat up by a pirate. It's just like stuff like that. That's really fun. And a lot of the ads that play on the radio are also advertisements for in-game objects you can interact with. And some of them even have like a little bit of information about how you can interact with them.
Musical tutorialization.
Yeah. So we really like used it as a way to kind of like expand the kind of like world of the game in a way, because you can sit there and listen to the radio for a long time and hear a lot of different things. And then we've got the more like story based, like more like set piece kind of pieces of music that are more in tune with like, the space or, what's happening in the story and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really tough, right? Because a lot of people don't really consider how important music is for setting not just tone, it's very effective at immediately conveying emotion, but also pacing. I always think back to this when I was a kid. I was playing Prince of Persia Warrior Within, the second one, and I just in the opening of the game, the super edgy one, yeah, super.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Just had to
so much so that like
the
the soundtrack in combat is like thrashy, like chuggy, like metal chords. It's like it's gorgeous,
Nice.
like I love it. But I just defeated the first pack of enemies after getting off like the main boat, and the combat music bugged out and did not stop. And
Oh, no.
I then went into slow exploration of like climbing over ledges, and then went into cutscenes, and this music just kept going like infinite. And I was like, "This is terrible!"
So
Like
funny.
the pace of just what you should be doing and feeling was just gone. And a lot of people assume that writing soundtracks for games is all about just like write good music, and that isn't the case. It's like you have to do the smallest like variations in the BPM of a song, or the like how you're doing the intonation between specific bars and stuff like that can completely change like the internet's gone. Well, it's gone on my end. Oh wait, could you guys hear what I was saying there?
We can still hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, well, for me, you guys all froze, but now you're back.
Oh no.
But
Continue.
to pick up what I was saying, it's like you can completely
Can you do a
change.
little pause? We'll reset the server just in case on Discord.
Could I do a what?
A little pause. I will
Could I-
reset. I will reset the server. 1 second.
Oh, pause. He said.
Oh, pause.
Let's
Okay.
pause.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
You're
like
good, you're good.
Uh-oh.
Are
There
we
are.
back?
Hello.
Hello.
Perfect.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Excuse us, everybody. Little
So yeah,
technical hiccup.
to pick up where, we're back, and I shall pick up where I was. So yeah, the smallest variation in these things can completely change how the player feels within a scene. Like if you have a song that is kind of it's driving, not just emotionally, but also like in how fast it is. The player is not going to sit there and want to tentatively explore the scene and like read things. They're going to want to move, right? And I'm having that issue with my soundtrack at the moment in my game. I'm writing and composing all the music in my game, and because a lot of my game is to do with looking at the environment really closely and paying attention to things, it's also a 3D platformer. So how do you make music that kind of moves between I'm platforming and isn't it fun to platform to you should be like paying attention to things now? And I have to think about it from a design perspective, like how are we communicating these things through diegetic lighting and the framing of when you enter a room and like what should you be looking for, but also the music, like what should you be doing in this environment, right? And the music has a huge play in that.
Yeah. And in Skin Deep too, like, we're using the Doom is it Doom 3? Doom 4?
We're using the Doom 3 game engine.
Doom 3.
Yeah.
So like
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So like we in terms of like like on a lot of games, like I typically use Fmod for like, interactive music and stuff, but we're doing everything like in a JSON file and like and so we had to get really creative with some of the like music cue triggering, because there's a few moments where we're like, oh, we want like a piece of music that can evolve, but we have to wait on the player. And so there's like moments where like we had to get pretty creative to kind of pull that off. But yeah, it's a fun challenge though, because like I come from a background of like I worked on Twine games, and like doing calling music cues and stuff just like in a Twine game is pretty clunky, but like I would still like layer things and loop things and do that kind of thing. So it's something I'm familiar with. Like I'm used to using the really like not using Fmod, not using Wise,
Yeah.
But yeah, it really like made us think about, like, okay, how are we triggering this? Like what do we need to happen here with the music? Is this like a song that loops? Is it broken into like a couple of chunks? That kind of thing. So yeah, it was I always enjoy having to like approach things in a different way and like these kind of like itchier systems where it's like, okay, we can't do like a full interactive system or whatever. So yeah, like a lot of the music for those scenes is like just a full song, and so it'll be like a 3-4 minute song that loops if you're in there long enough for it to loop. But there are a couple where we kind of have like broke things into chunks and trigger it based on a player doing an action or whatever.
Well,
and all
being
through a
in the
new
Doom
tool
free
set,
engine,
it
right?
sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I gotta ask. Why Doom? Why? That's such an interesting choice. Does it have to do with your level design background, I guess? Because you were doing like,
So I've just been using the Doom engines, the various Doom engines, the various Quake engines, and various Half-Life engines for, a while now. And id Software, they had a tradition where they open sourced their game engines, so you could just use it for free. So it made sense to just build on that stuff that I had built in the past and just keep using it. I think it's a rock solid game engine. One thing that I think is pretty special about it is that it is a game engine that is laser focused on just doing first person games and like not really anything else. It's all of its tech, all of its logic is built for doing first person stuff. Like you could bend it to other stuff, but it's kind of like designed for this one purpose.
I'm smiling because, as I guess is your nature, I'm thinking about the mod that you made of Half-Life 1 using Gold Source and Hammer and all those tools that made it turn-based, if I remember right. It was a bunch of like, what was that one called? I can't remember exactly.
Oh, boy.
I gotta look it up.
I don't remember either.
I'm sorry. I know I'm asking you to dig real deep into your brain. I'm just a nerd for that shit. I'll look it up later. But basically, I'm thinking about that. You're totally right. I worked the Insurgency series, like we started as a Half-Life 2 mod in 2007. Yeah. So I worked with a lot of people that were working on the Source engine, right, which came from Half-Life, which came from Quake, right? Like it's all that that lineage is there. John Carmack and all the crazy awesome things that he did. And I'm thinking about like the differences and like what I remember level designers feeling when we had to go from Source to Unreal 4 for Sandstorm. Did you find, if I remember right, and I assume, I guess, with Doom 3, like, is level design foundation way more brush-based? Like,
yes,
is there a lot of that? Yeah. Do you find that's helpful for you? Yeah.
I love it. Like, I think that there's something special about having a lot of control over level design and giving the level designer a lot of authorship control over like what gets shipped in the game. For folks who are listening who might not know this, brush-based is kind of the idea of the level design tools let you just place down arbitrarily sized blocks in the world, and you can resize them, manipulate them, rotate them around any way you want. As opposed to some of the level design approaches, which is more about prop-based and putting down bespoke art assets in the world.
Right, exactly.
And some studios that still use this include Valve to make the Half-Life games. I believe Wolfenstein games still use some variation of this, and I believe the Call of Duty games still use some variation of this.
Yeah. Titanfall 2 or 1, I think, was technically on an advanced branch of Source, I think. Don't quote me on that.
Yes.
By the way, it was. Okay, cool. Was it Half-Life Hero Squad? Was that the name of it?
The mod that you made. 'Cause Eric,
Hero Squad. That was the name of it.
Eric found it. But here it is for people who are listening to the podcast, you can't see, but Eric, in his infinite access to the void of the internet and his unnatural ability of perception, has found this old mod. What year did you make this?
Oh boy, early 2000s. Yeah. I love tactical shooter games like XCOM, things like that. So I thought, well, I only know how to use Half-Life. Let's try to make one in Half-Life.
I'm just gonna make it work. That's awesome. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Half-Life dork. That's also just cool. You clearly, like you personally and you as a team, clearly are just all about. It's like you said at the beginning. Like, what if every project to me was a different genre? Right? It's this kind of like forceful, deliberate subversion of yourself that you do, which must be very taxing, but also allows for incredible creativity. So
I don't know if it's the responsible thing to do, but I find it fun.
Said the business leader.
I think that's how we innovate, right? In a space is, I think a lot of, especially AAA games have become design-wise very samey because that's just what works, right? And I think there's a lot of value in hitting roadblocks and hitting restrictions in development and having to find creative ways to get around them. And completely changing what genre you're making is one of the ways to do that, because you have no idea. Like, well, I'm sure you have a baseline idea of what you want the game to be and what your direction is, but I'm sure there were lots of roadblocks you hit that you had to overcome creatively, which led to unique things in the game. That's what, attracted me to Skin Deep, was just like, this looks like, because it's from your team, that it's going to be and feel different and like within this space. And I want that, right? That's what I want from, maybe that's just me as a designer. Like, I just want to experience, new things. But I commend it, man.
About that. I think something about like seeing someone's perspective on a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I personally would love it if like franchises were more
less risk averse, maybe we could say.
No, I was going to say, like, I wish there was a universe in which different studios could like jump in and do an installment in a franchise. Like, I would love to see. I don't know. What does Respawn? How would they make a Final Fantasy game? Sure, give me that. Play it.
Wow. Can we think about that for a minute? What would be some other fun? Because that's an awesome concept.
Oh man.
Let me look at Steam to seek inspiration. Okay. What if Bungie made a fucking survival game, like survival crafting game?
Yeah.
Like, think about the way they have, like, there's a lot that they're known for, but I'm thinking about, like, they have a really big commitment to, deep lore, right? But in a survival crafting game, it can be difficult to kind of tell the story of all that lore.
Yeah.
And I don't think they would do it as simply as we'll just leave a bunch of journals and audio logs around. I think they do more than that. That's my thought. Is like Bungie doing, I don't know, a survival crafting game. I'm not in a specific franchise, but that's just popped into my head.
And like, they would find a way, and it would be interesting. But but like the risk of doing a whole new thing is too much, or it would be a lot for a large studio. So, but yeah, I would love that.
There's a lot of R&D, which is like one of the problems is like when you jump into a new genre or you're doing stuff like that. There's a lot of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brendon, like, I'm assuming there's a lot of research and development you have to do for just creating base systems for them to work and interact, right? And that takes up valuable development time. And if you don't have the resources to do that, I mean, AAA studios do have the resources to do this, and they're doing their own R&D on internal things for their genres all the time. But it is just a huge risk to be like, we don't know if this is going to sell. Like, if Call of Duty just stopped making FPS games and made like an XCOM tactical top-down tactics game, I would love that. But also, how much of their core audience would actually go and buy that and be interested in that? You kind of have to set yourself apart, like you have, Brendon, of you run a company where that is what you're about, right? And the audience know what they're getting, right? Well, the selling point is they don't know what they're getting, right? I guess
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
you don't know what's coming. That's where the beauty is.
Wait, I have two more because talking about Call of Duty, I was going to say Infinity Ward makes a first-person sim game like Schedule 1, or Infinity Ward makes they get the keys to the Grand Theft Auto franchise for 5 years.
Oh my god!
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
Valve?
Could be fun, right?
Valve make Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, that's okay.
That would
Maybe
play all these.
I don't think they could release it in 5 years though. I think they need more time. So Valve gets Grand Theft Auto for 20 years, and we just kind of see what happens. We just kind of. I'll get my email open. I'll reach out to Rockstar. Let's see if they're open to this idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll email Johnny Rockstar and see if
Jonathan Rockstar.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing I can come up with is more just like a reskinning. Like I want The Sims, but I want it done by like the Dragon Ball franchise. Like I want to be able to build a house for Piccolo and let him like plant a little garden. Like that's, for me.
He's a man of peace now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gardening. I like that.
He likes babysitting children. Like, what more do you want from the man? Like,
I want like along those threads. I want like a HOA.
This video that's playing
Oh
now
my
is
God.
perfect.
Oh, what is this, Eric? What did you find?
This looks like
a mod.
Sims. The Sims.
This looks like The Sims with Dragon Ball Z.
characters.
What the
Yeah, it is. Well, now I have some things to download. Apparently, there goes
I feel
my month.
I feel like the length of the battles in Dragon Ball really lends itself to some like HOA across the street conflict. So like you go outside and you see Piccolo just like raging across the street, just like powering up, getting ready to fight you, but they're actually just going to send out a letter. Yeah.
And after he
that's
powers
great.
up, he goes over to his mailbox and he opens up. He's like, "What the hell?" It says HOA on the top. He's reading the letter.
You must have your garage
Great. Good.
Oh shit!
my God.
Yeah. Wow. This video is
Get
excellent.
on with
video.
Johnny Sims. Make it happen. Like
Johnny Sims. Yeah.
that sounds like a name actually. Johnny Sims. Not as cool as Johnny Rockstar.
Where were we? Sorry, before I took us on that ridiculous tangent.
I blame Brendon. Brendon came with that cool idea and it just snowballed.
That's true. That's true. But what you're saying, Brendon, I totally agree. Like, I feel like you guys haven't met Tina, but our other co-host, she and I were going back and forth about this, where it's like, I feel like a lot of AAA franchises are restricted. Wouldn't it be cool if they weren't? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying they are so restricted they don't innovate, period. It would just be nice to see, I don't know, creativity sometimes needs to happen in within restrictions. You get more creative when you have to work within certain limitations, whether that's an old, very specific engine or the needs of a particular franchise. It's sometimes better to be a creative and not just have a blank slate when you start, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and I think I think it's totally reasonable to not do this, to be clear, because like the amount of infrastructure that you would like if you're running a big studio and your burn rate is for 100 people, like to tell them, hey, we're gonna make The Sims now is like, well, that's like not reasonable thing to do. So I just want to put it out there. That's like that's the reason why they can't do that. You can't just flip the switch. Yeah.
How big is your team, by the way?
Oh.
Or sorry. Go ahead, Priscilla. Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like a recent thing that kind of surprised me that I thought went really well. The Splatoon DLC that came out a while back was actually like completely different from the kind of like story mode or the competitive gameplay that happens. Like it was essentially kind of a tower climbing roguelite type of thing, and you're like picking up different abilities and stuff like that, and you're having to kind of like strategize which like challenges you take on in order to get like specific abilities to build like a literal palette, which was also modeled like a synthesizer with like pads, like light up pads.
Sick.
Perfect. It was so great. The Splatoon aesthetic is really, really fantastic. But I was really surprised by that DLC, and I thought that it was like such a cool way to kind of build on things and take things in a different direction, and in this kind of like contained spot. And like it was nice for me because like I enjoy those games for a long time. I was really bad at the like competitive aspect because I was so anxious about it. I've gotten over that now, but yeah, I was always kind of like, oh, I think it would be like cool if there was like a, you know, single player version of this game that wasn't just the like story mode or whatever. And so that was, I think that was really cool. And I think Nintendo can sometimes like, it seems like they have like the kind of like bandwidth or the freedom to occasionally like do these kind of more like spin-off types of things, which I
was just about to say that. Yeah, it was Nintendo seemed to be a front runner in like, hey, here's a weird thing. Like,
what if we were weird? What if
to randomly come out with like, oh, one of the effectively the launch titles for the Switch 2 is a 3D platforming Donkey Kong game. Like,
yeah,
what? Like, we haven't done that since 64, and like they've just been like, hey, the biggest thing we've released in like the last 10 years, the headline is going to be Donkey Kong. It's like, okay, and it's about like breaking the environment. We haven't seen that in anything from Nintendo, and they're just like, yeah, this is going to be our headline piece, and I respect that massively because they also have, if you like Mario Kart's the prime example of, hey, we're going to deliver something that our audience know and want, but also we're going to use the infinite money we make from that to make these weird things as well. And I like that. I respect that.
I do. We talked about this with Tina too. It's like, I forget if I said it, I'll say it again. Maybe I'm just a bit of a weeb because I look to Japanese developers and I feel like they're more willing to do that. I even wonder if it's a bit cultural, where they go, okay, well, this thing that we did has to be different. We have to push the envelope. We have to be weird. So if we have to be weird, what's the next weird thing we're doing, guys, instead of the next safe thing? I don't know. It's a bit of a vibe that I get. My example before was the Resident Evil series, right? Making the pretty bold move to go first person, right, with the 7th. On top of realizing, wow, we spun out of control with 6. That tone was all over the place. Let's bring it down, everybody. And yeah, it was. Love that series. Like, love 6 for the reasons, you know, that it's lovable. But yeah, I wonder if that's something with the country's development just in general. It's game dev culture.
Yeah, there's something to dive into for sure. We've hinted at potentially having a guest on to discuss that very thing. Because it's fascinating, right? Like how the cultures of just game dev, not just with how the companies are run and layoffs and stuff like that, but also just the design perspectives and stuff like that. It's very different. But I think that's the beauty of games, just in general, is in most cases when you get a game it could be in the exact same genre, but two games from two different studios can be vastly different, and that's the beauty of it. That's why I think genres in a way are very nebulous and kind of bullshit, because you're kind of just giving a hint of like, yeah, this is kind of the vibe, this is kind of the gameplay you can expect, but also not. So like temper your expectations. And I think gamers and I was guilty of this, who lump genres into I just don't like that genre. Like, I don't like those things. You're doing yourself a disservice, because I did that very thing with roguelikes and roguelites. I played one, hated it, can't tell you what the name of it was. I hated it that much, I deleted it from my memory. But then blanket avoided the entire genre. Like, I do not like this genre. It's not for me, blah, 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 blah. But then played Risk of Rain 2, which is like a different take on the roguelike genre, and fell in love with it. And it unlocked something in my brain of like, oh, maybe I do like this genre, and then found loads of other games that are some of my favorites to date. Like, actually made me give Hades a try. I was dumb and just hadn't played Hades because I was like, this isn't for me. I've grown out of this attitude, right? But if anyone in the chat, if you think you don't like a genre, like, this might be a good way to segue into some of the questions we have actually from the fans, because we've got a couple. And this question kind of links with this from entirely far too many serious frogs gives $5. Thank you so much.
Hi, frogs.
Says, a lot of frogs. No silly antics. Slightly serious question this time. What's an immersive sim you'll recommend for someone who hasn't been much into immersive sims? Right, like
Skin Deep.
what's a good way?
Hey.
Yeah, got him.
But really,
you got it.
I do think it's a good. I think it's a good starting place, because I think like for me at least, like a lot of times my barrier to entry for games is like when games are like so serious and so like, you know, the stakes feel so high and like, you know, I'm just generally like there are games that make me anxious, you know, when I try to play them. And that's why, you know, like I said earlier, like Elden Ring was such a huge surprise for me. Because in the end, I just found dying very humorous in there. And I think people will find that dying in Skin Deep is also quite humorous.
Yeah.
So basically, like, find a game that makes you laugh when you die instead of, like, you want to throw your controller. I think that's what it boils down to for me. It's like, I either want to laugh or I want to feel like I learned something when I die. If I'm not learning something and I'm not laughing, then I'm probably not playing.
Yeah.
Failure should be fun. Yeah. The one I would throw out there is probably Prey, 2017 Prey.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good one. It has the non-linear, semi-open level design. I'm using that term very, half-heartedly, I guess. I can't think of a better term at the moment. But you have like semi-open levels. It's not going to overwhelm you. You're still going to be somewhat guided. You're going to feel like you exist in a space. You're going to, the narrative is interesting. The premise is interesting. There's an effort to build the world. It's not anything like Prey from 2005 or 2006, which is also a good game, but much more linear, not an immersive sim. That's a good sim that I would recommend. Or honestly, and this is, if you could deal with dated games, the OG Deus Ex, I think, is an excellent immersive sim. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, what I find inviting about that one is if you're somebody, the combat's not very great. It didn't age well. But if you are somebody who wants to get into the genre and like see a game that takes advantage of its design philosophy, Deus Ex is good because there's a lot of like kind of slower, easier entry to it, because a lot of the game is just like talking to people and learning about the world, and then you get ready for the combat and you go into it when you want to, and then it has all the fun immersive sim parts of like you could do stealth, you could do full on action, whatever. I'd say one of those two. But Brendon, Jay, what do you guys think?
I think Prey is one of my favorite games of all time. I love that game. I think it is it's phenomenal. Yeah. I was so impressed when it came out.
I need to play it.
It's great.
It's a great one. You'll like it.
It's on my list now, like for sure. It's been on there for a little bit. So
yeah.
Very underrated.
I think Deathloop is one that I really, really enjoyed recently. I think it does a really good job.
I bet.
I love Arcane. They're great. Yeah, but they do a really good job at keeping things. Like we were talking about earlier, kind of a nice spectrum of emotions. Like there are parts that are very like real and serious and scary, but the tone of it is also oftentimes gets pretty. I don't want to say light, but like they have fun with it, which I think is important and keeps it from feeling too one note. But yeah, I love Prey. I love Deathloop and Prey. They're really good. Both really good.
I'm gonna keep this train going. I would recommend Dishonored. I think Dishonored 1 and 2, especially 2, and especially the DLC. I think it's called Death of the Outsider. I think they're nice entry points. They're not incredibly intense with its like how many systems you have to potentially maintain and juggle. You can kind of tackle them in a pace that you would like, but also I think it does an incredible job of cascading the systems it does have in a way that makes it feel like you've discovered something, not like they've led you to a point to show you something, but you've just stumbled upon a new way of interacting with the game. And I think that's really, really, really cool. So I would say Dishonored if I had to say one, Dishonored 2. I think that's the best one for me, for sure.
Right on. I think we all gave very good answers. Good for us. Thank you for the
Yeah, for sure.
question.
Thanks, Arcane.
Yeah, thanks, Arcane, really. By the way, real quick, when I Googled immersive sims, let's talk a little bit about what might not be. Dark Messiah came up, also by Arcane, but that didn't feel like an immersive sim to me. Did that feel like an immersive sim to you guys? I felt like a linear first-person fantasy game. But
I feel it's kind of this is one of those things where like different people have different definitions of it. I think I'm more like generous to what I think it could
More
be.
generous.
So I think it is kind of like in a gray area, but I would kind of like round up to immersive sim for me.
Okay.
It kind of, like, it
Round
gives you
up
lots
to
of
it. I like that. Round
Yeah.
up to it. Yeah.
it's very
equation.
systemic. Yeah, like
Yeah.
they give you so many like ways to play with the world, and it's all like
Yeah, that's fair.
consistent. So I love it.
Like does Tears of the Kingdom round up to like ImSim with like the machines you build and the physics and
And there are lots of different ways to tackle its puzzles.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
it's very funny. I played Breath of the Wild at launch back in 2017, and I got all the way to the Ganondorf fight and then put it down. I beat Ganondorf on that same save file the night before Tears of the Kingdom came out.
Damn.
And now I'm in the same place where I played Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm literally to the Ganon fight, like, at launch, got all the way there. And so I guess I have to wait for the next Zelda game, like, big, one to come out for me to go back and finish it. But, I enjoyed
I'm similar because, well, not up to the end, but I put in 200 to 300 hours of Tears, I think. And I got so into it. I was mainlining that shit. It's a game that would, if you don't have ADD, you will develop it playing it because there's just so much content. There's so many quests. Taking your horse and going anywhere, you're gonna find a reason to stop and go do something and get the rush that you get from satisfying. It's a very deep game and it's super fun. And I need to pick it back up, but I finally took a break from it, and I got to get back and actually beat the damn thing.
It's the same kind of satisfaction you get from diving into one of the reasons why I think Elden Ring is so accessible as the first kind of FromSoft game is the idea of if you find a wall to smash your head against, like a boss, there is 100 other things outside that could grab your attention and actually give you new ways to progress, rather than, I think that's why a lot of people bounce off games like the OG Dark Souls. One, because people find it confusing to navigate if you're not used to the way the levels are designed, but also you find a wall and you ain't going anywhere until you smash through it. So
yeah,
that's why Elden Ring stands out.
I tried to play I have an active save of Dark Souls, and I have been struggling. I'll go and play it, but I will literally procrastinate playing it even if I want to, because I'm I've forgotten everything I did up to this point. And I was trying really hard to not look up guides for it and stuff, but I think if I'm actually going to play it, I'm going to have to follow a guide of some sort, because I just unlike Elden Ring, because I feel like in Elden Ring you would just kind of stumble across the next thing you would do because you're out exploring or whatever. In Dark Souls it's I go up one path and I'm I keep dying here. Am I not supposed to be here yet? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I had less of that. I haven't beat it or finished it or really gotten particularly far in it yet, but I did go back and play Bloodborne and really enjoy how that game feels. I think it feels more akin to Elden Ring to me than the other. And now I'm thinking about how much I'm excited for the serial numbers filed off game coming out on the Switch 2.
Oh, the Switch 2. Well, that being it's a multiplayer.
Serial numbers filed off.
Yeah,
that's a multiplayer PvE game. So FromSoft is one of these. I think we need to give FromSoft their dues in the sense of with Night Rain coming out, which is just a weird roguelike free player repeatable game, and also with Dusk Bloods, I think it's called.
Yeah,
The Dusk
I
Bloods.
forgot what it was called. I was just like,
It's Bloodborne, but not. That's also, everyone was really surprised because they were like, oh, it's a PvE game. Like it's ostensibly just a PvP game by itself. FromSoft are going, hey, we released Elden Ring and broke a bunch of records. We're going to do a couple of weird things. And it might not be for everyone, but I respect that, right? Like, because let's be real, they're working on their next major project as we speak, but they're using the engine advancements they made with Elden Ring to do some weird stuff. And do you know, more power to them. Like, I want more of that. That's really, really cool.
I'll here for it. FromSoft, make an MMO, please. Bring back Chrome Hounds. I want to
No,
play
don't.
Chrome
You'll
Hounds,
tank your
but
company.
I want. No, it's cool. It'll
As
be
a huge
innovative.
MMO guy, I have like between World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2, I think I have like 10k hours.
I want
between them.
Let me be clear about this. I want like an old style MMO by FromSoft. Like I'm talking like a Dark Age of Camelot, Ultima Online. No, not even EverQuest, World of Warcraft. That's like theme park, new style MMO.
You want
chronologically.
old school systems.
I want fucking open PvP, full loot. I want like a weird world to navigate and the risk of other players. I think that would be interesting to see at their level of production. But it's also incredibly risky and very difficult to figure out.
Yeah.
So I accept that it might not ever happen. Chrome Hounds was cool though. Everybody look up Chrome Hounds because that had like a persistent world sort of meta war aspect to it that FromSoft did that was, innovative and neat.
All right, we got a few more donations to get through. This one is using a lot of acronyms, so it's going to confuse me. From it's entirely far too many serious frogs. Again, gives $2 and says Wolf, which I'm assuming is Wolfenstein, and then says TOB prequel. That's the Old Blood.
Yeah, that's the Old Blood.
Right,
Yeah.
and then we got TNOs Act 1 and 2, The New Order.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and then we got TNC Acts 3 and 4, The New Colossus.
Must be. I think so.
I play games. Hey,
You got
let
them
it
all,
be known. Let it be known
Let it
that
be known.
someone who's worked in games media for the last 6 years, knows how to name games.
test.
I passed. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Far too many serious frogs. Like
Acts
are
3 and
these
4 of Go ahead.
Acts 3 and 4 of that, and Acts 1 and 2, and a prequel? Are these like in orders that you should play them? Maybe.
Maybe
us know
it's
in
just
chat.
praise for those. Yeah, let us know in chat. We'll happily speak more to it. Frogs are just showing off their knowledge of gaming.
Oh, it's their order.
challenging.
It's the order. All right. Yeah, that's my shadow account. That's me actually posting here so I can show off. Oh no, how I can name games. So we got a couple more. We got Miss Harmony with the 199. Thank you so much. And said, just wanted to show some support. Love dev heads. Thank you so much, Miss Harmony. Really appreciate you. I guess this is a good time as any to say that all of your donations and everything from your support on Patreon goes to supporting shows like this, not just dev heads, but Design Delve, my show, everything through Fully Ramblomatic, Unpacked, and Adventurers Nice. So thank you so much to everyone who supports us on Patreon and sends in your donations. We really massively appreciate you. Independent Games Media, we love it. Get fucked, corpos.
While people decide whether they want to make a donation or ask any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I see one here from Cephalopod. If Brendon were this isn't a question, but it's an interesting one anyway. If Brendon were inclined, he should remake his Citizen Able mods in the 30 Flights of Loving engine and fuse gameplay of Quake 2 with that of Thief, MDK, and No One Lives Forever. Wow, that's a fun grab bag.
What?
What does that look like? I don't know.
I don't know, but those are some of my favorite games, so I would definitely play this. So Citizen Able was a bunch of Quake 2 mods that I made back in the day. When I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would love to revisit them someday.
What were they like? What did you get out of them? What was special about them?
Yeah, so I was getting into mod making, and I made a bunch of multiplayer mods. And I learned that it's pretty hard to make multiplayer mods because it requires 10 people to set aside time to play together on your thing. And so I started doing single player stuff, which was Citizen Able, which is kind of He plays kind of a gun for hire person who will just like do a job for you. And I made about 4 of them, and they were kind of how I got my start doing a lot of single player FPS stuff.
Interesting you say that. For one, it's interesting that it sounds like there was some narrative to this Quake 2 mod that you put in. How did you express that narrative?
So I grew up playing a lot of like Sierra and LucasArts adventure games, the point and click games, and I've always loved like characters and worlds and stories. So whenever I made anything in like Doom or Half-Life or Quake, I would always try to put in some kind of context for what you're doing, some reason why you're doing stuff. This sounds crazy, but that was like not a thing at that time. Sometimes
You're totally right. You're totally right. No. Like we were talking about Marathon earlier, and its cool lore.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody did that in the 90s. Like nobody was that crazy or that bold to do something that cool, as Mandalore says it in his Marathon series.
Yeah.
It's special that you did that. That was part of why I liked Bootleg Squadrog. Is in addition to being like a very difficultly scripted, I imagine, experience, there was such an effort to make for a story and a sequence and like a timeline. And 30 Flights of Loving, and I think also Gravity Bone. I got that impression too. But anyway, that makes perfect sense to me.
I love this stuff. I think it's fun to have characters that go through an experience, and for you to be along for the ride.
100%. So we have one donation. I guess this is another one of recommendations. Fungus Finder, friend of the pod, welcome. It's $10 and says, "Y'all, I'm a blueprints dummy. I don't get the puzzles. I don't see connections. Pretty sure I'm still passing over things. Can we design a smarty pants game that can make even me feel smart? Example would be Outer Wilds." So that's an interesting question on like how you design puzzles and like. I think one of the problems it's a different type of design philosophy with blueprints is the idea of the player's responsibility for gathering information and being responsible for that. And that means we can't account for things like that, which we spoke about earlier. I think if I could give any examples of puzzle games that for me made me feel smart, but does it in a contained way, is games like Portal and Portal 2. Games where the puzzles are entirely located within the room and you can't leave until you've done them. It means you don't have the second guessing of, did I do everything I needed to do or see all the pieces of information that the game wanted me to? And if you don't have to do that second guessing, your brain power can be used on just solving the puzzle. Do you guys have any puzzle games that you would recommend?
I would like to plug a game that just came out.
Hey, let's go.
So this, if you are interested in like starting to play puzzle games and want to play something that is pretty short and sweet, but also is well designed and well made, highly recommend The Electrifying Incident. It's from the same team that made A Good Snowman is Hard to Build, which I also did the soundtrack
Monsters Expedition,
for.
yeah.
And a Monsters Expedition. I did not work on that one, but it is fantastic.
This game's on my list. I adore the Monsters Expedition. I think it's one of the best puzzle games ever made. So I'm very excited to check this out. I actually have a code. Actually, your team gave me a code for this. It's on my list to check out.
Yeah, it's really great. It's such an approachable puzzle game, and it's like it's well designed. It's pretty linear for one of their games, and so I think it's a really good place to start if you're interested in kind of like Succubon style like puzzle games and that kind of thing. And it's sweet, short. It's got a narrative, kind of loose narrative to it, and it's really well designed. Alan and everyone on the team are just so good at what they do. So yeah, it's a game that feels really good to play. So Recommend
Yeah.
I recommend that. And Patrick's Parabox, if you want something a little bit more challenging, is another puzzle game. I've done a lot of puzzle games. They're a lot of fun. So yeah, Patrick's Parabox, and then A Good Snowman is Hard to Build. Those are all like well designed puzzle games that you feel smart when you figure something out. So those are my
It's
recommendations.
fantastic.
You know what, Priscilla? Props to you. I assume that you worked on puzzle games both as a composer and as a sound designer, maybe other areas too. But props to you on the composer side, specifically of puzzle games, because you need to make a track that will work for a person who's stuck somewhere for 40 minutes and hears it over and over and over.
Yes.
And you have to make sure they don't get bored or irritated by it. That's a challenge.
It is. It really is. Like on Parabox, I did a different tune for every level, which I think is pretty unique. I feel like I've played a lot of puzzle games where it's the same track the entire time, and that becomes very apparent very quickly. But it's, I think on Electrifying Incident, it's I made the entire soundtrack in the month of March, so last month.
Wow.
So it was a very quick turnaround on it. And it was fun because, like, a lot of times on puzzle games, I feel like my kind of like guidance or direction when approaching the soundtrack is like to kind of treat the player with kid gloves. Like, I feel like a lot of puzzle designers kind of view their audience as like very like skittish woodland creatures, and you don't want to frighten them too much. And so like typically the music, I keep it very like low key and that kind of thing. But with Electrifying Incident, because it's a shorter puzzle game, they were kind of like, put a beat in there, like, go weird with it, like, and so that was really fun. It was really not a typical puzzle game soundtrack for me, and so that was a lot of fun.
Oh,
Well, that's fascinating. If we had more time, I just want to talk about what you just said. Put a beat in there. That is such a simple. That is such a simple thing, but like how you do like percussion in soundtracks is like super important. And I that's fascinating to me. We'll have to do a sound design episode, and we'll have you back on because it's it's so interesting to me for sure. Brendon, do you have any puzzle recommendations along with you, Mikey?
This is kind of related, but I was thinking about like getting stuck in puzzles, and I was thinking about one of the implementations I've seen that did this I thought pretty good was the newest Monkey Island game, the one that came out some years ago. They had a system where like wherever you are, you could just click on the hint thing, and it had tiers of hints that it gave you. Like tier 1 is like a very vague, loose hint. Tier 2 is more specific. Tier 3 just tells you exactly what to do.
That's
and
really cool.
I love that because like I get stuck in these games sometimes, and to be able to not have to go to YouTube or not go to like a walkthrough, and to be able to have like an in-game vague hint that kind of like pushes me in the correct direction. It's great. I love it.
Scrub on a YouTube long play, and I went too far.
Oh, God.
I spoiled something for myself. Let me go back. Okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
No, 2 minutes for it. I've played. I watched one of my friends play a bunch of the old school Westwood adventure, like Legend of Carandia. Watched a little bit of Jack Keane, I think it was. There were a few others of those, like Broken Sword, that series, and it's fun to watch as an observer. Like I enjoyed watching my friend because I didn't have to figure any shit out. I was just hanging out. But it's very frustrating, because I've played them myself or ones like them. And you just get so stuck. Tiering is an excellent idea. That's like a terrific innovation on puzzles / adventure, the genre.
Yeah. A small thing from my game that I'm currently working on is, I can't say too much, but there's like puzzles that involve a lot of NPCs, and because it's a platformer, there's currencies that you can collect as you go. And one of the currencies is used as it's used for spending on like cosmetics and things like that, but also for hints from the NPC. So you can spend your currency to bribe them, and they'll give you more information on what to do and stuff like that. I need to see how that plays out in testing because like how's that going to work if somebody needs to spend a lot of their currency, but then does that encourage the collection of it more because it makes it more because it's deterministic, right? You can use it on cosmetics and or hints,
Mhm.
you then does that encourage people to want them more if they just spend on hints? I don't know. We'll see. We've got to get to testing.
Bribery as a mechanic is great. I like that.
That is interesting for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I want to plug someone else's thing real quick.
Yeah.
It's a Let's Play series. If you like puzzle games, but maybe like you don't want to play it and you just like want to watch someone else do it, Friends at the Table has been doing Let's Plays of the 999 series. So there's like a ton of different puzzle games and like branching narratives and possibilities there, and it's really fun watching them. I feel like personally I would bounce off of those games if I was playing them myself, but they do a really fantastic job playing these games. And so yeah, if you're interested in watching some Let's Plays, like that's a very fun and funny time.
Beautiful, yeah, that's a great recommendation. I think like we're getting to that time now where like I told you guys before we started, we usually just like get to the point where we need to be told to stop. So this is me telling us we need to stop. So Brendon, could you let our audience know when Skin Deep will be available and where they can check it out if they're interested?
Yeah, so Skin Deep will be launched on next Wednesday, April 30th, and it can be purchased from Steam and the Epic Game Store.
Beautiful. Awesome. Yeah. And also just a reminder, as we do whenever we have devs on here, guys, just a reminder that wishlisting games is extremely beneficial to developers. It doesn't cost you anything, just like 5 seconds of your time. It also, if you are interested, it does tell you when the game comes out and when they go on sale. So it helps developers out massively. So even if you don't have the money to buy the game, I know we're in turbulent times at the moment, wishlisting helps a lot. So just a reminder on that front. Yeah. So if you guys have anything else you want to say, interrupt me, like scream and interrupt me.
Okay. One last question for Priscilla and Brendon. How do you guys feel? You're about to release.
Yeah.
You're putting this piece out into the world. As much as you can say, how do you feel right now about the release?
I feel great. We really like the thing that we made. We think it's got a lot of stuff going on in it, and I'm also really excited for people to hear Priscilla's incredible soundtrack, which goes all over the place and is wonderful. And the soundtrack will be released next Wednesday, also, I believe, right?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited for people to play it. I think everyone on the team did a fantastic job. I think Laura Maché's writing is so funny and charming and fantastic. So I'm really excited for people to get into the actual story of the game. And yeah, I'm excited for people to like discover the music. There's so much on the radios and things that are just purely diegetic, things like that. Yeah. I'm really excited for people to hear the theme song. We haven't unveiled that yet. I'll shout out my friend Erica Lewis, who sang on the soundtrack theme song.
Cool.
And if you want to get a sneak peek of her stuff, like you can go look up Honey Collective is her band. Really fantastic. So yeah, it was really exciting to work with a couple of people on the theme song. And yeah, you can pre-order the soundtrack over on Bandcamp right now. You can kind of get there easily from ghoulnoisemusic.com. If you're interested in checking that out, there's some preview tracks up on there as well.
Yeah,
Excellent.
As you were saying that, Eric already put the link in chat. Like,
awesome.
As always, amazing shout out to Eric, our producer in the back end, who's always on top of it in a kind of spooky, kind of paranormal way.
Yeah, you didn't
of sending
oversell
out
it.
links.
Yeah.
Yeah, we warned them before we started, and it was true.
Thank you so much, Eric. So yeah, thank you both for joining us today. It's been an absolute blast to hear about your journey and about your design perspectives from, not just the entire game, but also the sound. It's been really, really interesting. I'm sad Tina couldn't join us. But yeah, thank you everyone in chat as well for coming to join, sending in your donations and asking your questions. We appreciate you massively. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
I don't know why the outro
Bye,
was janky
everybody.
this time. The intro was great, but the outro was janky.
I like the
Bye.
double hand wave here.
I don't know.